The wind carried the scent of sagebrush and dust across the dry plains, painting the horizon with a wavering shimmer of heat. Jeremiah Kane rode slowly, his horse's hooves crunching the brittle ground, eyes scanning the undulating ridges as twilight stretched long shadows over the prairie. He had been following the trail for days, chasing whispers of cattle rustlers, but the trail had gone cold, and the land offered nothing but emptiness. Still he pressed on, the desert sun dipping behind the jagged silhouette of distant mesas. It was then he heard it, a soft, plaintive whinny carried on the wind. At first, he thought it was a coyote, or maybe just the whistling of the wind through the canyons. But the sound came again, more insistent this time, a high, trembling note that seemed almost human in its despair. He stopped his horse, ears pricking. There, on a rise not far off, a tiny shape moved, barely more than a shadow, illuminated by the slanting orange light. A foal. A wild Mustang, young, thin, with ribs showing beneath a coat that glimmered like bronze in the dying sun. Its eyes were wide, wild, and yet mournful. The foal lifted its head and neighed at the sky, a long, haunting cry aimed at the rising moon. Jeremiah felt a chill run down his spine, though the air was still warm. He had ridden through many strange nights in his life, but there was something almost sorrowful in that sound. Something that seemed to be calling to him, pulling at the strings of memory he couldn't name. "Easy there, fella," he murmured, nudging his horse forward. The foal's ears flicked, its body tense, but it didn't bolt. Instead, it turned, then began to trot slowly, glancing back over its shoulder as if urging him to follow. Jeremiah hesitated, but curiosity overpowered caution. He swung down from his saddle, letting the reins drop over the horse's neck, and moved toward the foal on foot. The Mustang led him across cracked earth and twisted sage, over dry washes that had not seen rain in months, always keeping just far enough ahead to make him strain. Every so often, it paused, lifting its head to whinny at the moon, its voice carrying eerily across the empty plains. Jeremiah realized he hadn't seen a house or any sign of human life for miles. This was no ordinary trail. It felt like the foal was guiding him somewhere he was meant to find. By the time the moon hung high, pale and cold, in the sky, the foal had brought him to the edge of a valley, and there it stopped completely. Jeremiah squinted through the silver light and saw the shapes of buildings, their roofs sagging, windows dark, chimneys crumbling. A ghost town. He had heard of towns abandoned after railroads bypassed them, towns emptied after mines played out, but this one was silent, unervingly still, as if the wind had never breathed through its streets before. And yet, there was a sound. A soft crying, faint but unmistakable, carried through the still air. Jeremiah's heart tightened. No one should be here. Ghost towns were supposed to be empty, dead. But the crying persisted, small and fragile, weaving through the empty boardwalks and abandoned storefronts. The foal neighed again, low and insistent, and padded toward the largest building, a crumbling general store with windows like hollow eyes. Jeremiah followed, boots crunching the gravel, hand resting on the butt of his revolver. Inside, the moonlight spilled across dust motes, illuminating broken shelves and overturned barrels. And there, in the center of the floor, a small child sat, knees drawn up, tears glistening on a dirty face. The boy, or maybe a girl, Jeremiah couldn't tell from a distance, was trembling, staring wide-eyed at the doorway, silent until the foal's soft neigh drew him closer. Hey now," Jeremiah said gently, lowering himself to kneel a few feet away. The child flinched, eyes darting to the man, to the horse, then back to the shadows behind them. "You all right? You all alone here?" The crying stopped abruptly, replaced by a hiccuping sob. The child shook their head, murmuring something Jeremiah couldn't catch. He leaned closer, voice soft, coaxing. "It's all right. Nobody's gonna hurt you. I'm Jeremiah. What's your name, little one?" The child's lips quivered. I lost." Jeremiah's chest tightened again. "Lost, huh? Well, we'll get you back. I promise." He glanced at the foal, who had come forward now, nudging the child gently with its nose. The child's hands reached out, grasping at the animal's mane, and the little smile that broke across a tear-streaked face was fleeting but real. The foal turned back to Jeremiah, ears twitching, eyes alert. It seemed to urge him onward, toward the back of the store, where shadows gathered. Jeremiah hesitated. There was danger here. Abandoned towns weren't always abandoned for nothing. Still, the child's safety came first. He stepped carefully through the dust, revolver raised, every sense alert. The foal padded along beside him, its small body alert and tense. At the back of the store, he found a trapdoor, partially hidden beneath fallen debris. The crying had stopped at this point, replaced by a soft, strange echo, almost like a whisper. Jeremiah's gut clenched. With a deep breath, he pulled the door open. A narrow staircase led down into darkness. He could hear the child's small feet behind him, tentative, then the foal's soft neigh, encouraging. Jeremiah descended, one hand gripping the railing, the other on the revolver. The air grew cooler, the smell of earth and rot rising from below. At the bottom, moonlight filtered through a small grate. And there, huddled in the corner, was the source of the sobbing, a bundle of clothes wrapped around a small chest, and inside the chest, an even smaller figure shivering. Jeremiah knelt, lifting the child gently. "There we go, we gotcha." The child clung to him, finally finding comfort in the warmth of a living person. The foal leaned in, nuzzling both of them. Its wild eyes flicked to Jeremiah, then up toward the moon again, as if signaling something he could not understand. Yet in that moment, he knew they were not just lost. They had been led here for a reason. Jeremiah rose slowly, cradling the child, the foal stepping alongside him. Outside, the town lay silent, bathed in moonlight. And as he mounted his horse, the foal neighed one last time, long and clear, then turned and trotted back into the shadows of the town, disappearing as mysteriously as it had appeared. Jeremiah rode on, child safe against him, the wind whispering through the canyons. Somewhere behind him, the wild Mustang Foal waited, a ghostly guardian beneath the light of the moon, keeping secrets of the plains and the silent town it had once called home. The plains stretched endlessly ahead, but Jeremiah felt different. There was a pull in his chest, a knowing that the foal had chosen him for a reason he did not yet understand. And in the quiet of the night, the sound of a distant, lonely neigh echoed once more across the prairie, like a reminder that even in the emptiest places, something wild, something alive, would always find a way to guide the lost home. The first pale fingers of dawn stretched across the horizon, turning the sky from deep indigo to streaks of rose and gold. Jeremiah Kane rode slowly through the ghost town, child cradled in his arms, the Mustang Foal nowhere in sight. For all the emptiness around him, the town seemed alive in memory, the wind carrying echoes of laughter, footsteps, and whispered secrets long gone. He felt it pressing against his chest, the weight of a story left untold, of a town abandoned too quickly, leaving hearts behind like dust on the floorboards. The child stirred, rubbing sleepy eyes, whispering something incoherent. Jeremiah tightened his grip gently. "It's okay, little one. We're getting out of here." The foal's absence gnawed at him. It had led him here, yes, but now it was gone, like a shadow retreating into the cracks of the earth. He scanned the street, buildings leaning as though burdened by time, windows dark and hollow. A faded sign creaked in the breeze, Red Willow, 1873. Jeremiah hadn't heard of Red Willow before, but somehow it felt familiar. His boots crunched against gravel as he made his way toward the town's edge, glancing at the child again. The small figure nestled against his chest, warm but trembling. The kid had probably been hiding for days, maybe weeks. Hunger, fear, loneliness. He could feel it all in the quiet rhythm of its breathing. He reached the corral on the outskirts, the sun now spilling across the plains. Horses had once been kept here. He could tell by the worn fence posts and deep tracks in the dirt. Jeremiah set the child gently down, letting them sit on the ground while he inspected the area. The wind carried a new sound, a rustling, faint but unmistakable. He turned quickly, hand on the revolver, eyes scanning. Then he saw it, the foal standing at the far end of the corral, ears perked, eyes wide and alert. Its coat shimmered in the sunlight like burnished copper, muscles tense as it neighed softly, a call almost like a warning. Jeremiah lowered his gun slowly, realizing that the foal had not abandoned them. It had been waiting, watching, perhaps guiding them still. "Good girl," he murmured, speaking softly, letting the words drift through the morning air. The foal neighed again, trotting closer, mane shimmering in the light. It nudged the child gently, who laughed for the first time in what felt like an eternity, reaching out to stroke the foal's nose. Jeremiah felt a strange tug in his chest, a pull he couldn't name, as if the land itself had breathed a sigh of relief at the reunion. "All right," he said, mounting his horse and holding the child close. "Let's find out why you're here, little one." The foal fell in beside them, trotting effortlessly, ears flicking as though listening for sounds invisible to the human ear. Jeremiah followed the trail out of town, moving past the empty buildings that leaned like weary sentinels. Windows reflected the rising sun, ghostly and silent, and yet he felt as though something, watched him, waiting for him to understand. The plain stretched on, flat and unforgiving, dust rising in lazy columns where the wind swept the dry earth. Jeremiah asked the child, "Do you know where your folks are? Anyone at all?" The small figure shook their head, clutching his arm. I was hiding in the dark." Jeremiah didn't press further, sensing that forcing words from the child would only break the fragile trust they had just begun to forge. Hours passed as they rode, the sun climbing higher, turning the dust to gold. The foal led the way, stopping occasionally to neigh at the sky, its cries carrying a strange resonance, as if speaking to the moon still lingering in the fading night. Jeremiah had seen many strange things in his life. The desert had a way of teaching hard lessons, but this was something beyond him. The foal seemed almost sentient in a way that went beyond instinct, guiding them toward some destiny he couldn't yet comprehend. As they rounded a ridge, a faint smoke column rose in the distance. Jeremiah's heart jumped. "Looks like someone's around," he said cautiously, eyes narrowing. The child's grip on his shirt tightened, fear creeping back. He slowed, trying to read the landscape. There, nestled in a fold of the hills, was a small cabin, blackened timber and stone, smoke curling from the chimney. Someone was alive here, and perhaps, just perhaps, they could help them. But the foal hesitated. Its ears flattened, and it let out a low, warning neigh. Jeremiah dismounted, moving closer, revolver raised but heart pounding. The child stayed behind, hidden behind a small rock, eyes wide. As he crept closer, he saw the outline of a figure in the doorway. A woman, hunched slightly, motioning for him to come nearer. The air smelled of firewood and something else, something tangy and sweet, apples, maybe, or some fruit preserved long ago. Jeremiah stepped forward slowly. "Ma'am, we mean no harm. There's a child, lost, scared, and a horse." He nodded toward the foal, who had now calmed slightly, pawing the ground. The woman's eyes widened in recognition, though her face remained cautious. You found them," she whispered, voice trembling. He nodded. "I followed the foal. It led us here. Is this your place?" She shook her head slowly, stepping out of the doorway. "No, not mine. But it's safe. For now." She gestured toward a small pen beside the cabin. "Bring the foal. Leave the child there for a moment." Jeremiah hesitated, but the child's trust in him kept him steady. They led the foal into the pen, which had straw and a small trough. The animal's eyes flicked back at him, almost knowingly, before it settled, nostrils flaring as it sniffed the air. The woman invited them inside. Warmth hit Jeremiah immediately, carrying with it the scent of cooked grains and wood smoke. She moved with careful grace, gesturing for him to sit while the child remained close. "You followed the foal," she said softly, almost to herself. "It's rare. They don't lead strangers." Jeremiah shrugged. It was like it knew where to go. Like it wanted me to find this town, this child. I don't know why. She nodded, eyes distant. "That foal has a gift. Some of us call it the moon's whisper. It chooses who will follow, who will carry what must be carried. You are one of the chosen, it seems." The child yawned, exhaustion tugging at the small frame. Jeremiah lifted them gently, settling them on his lap. The woman handed him a bowl of porridge, warm and fragrant, and he watched as the foal outside pawed the ground impatiently, eager for the next step of the journey. "The child?" Jeremiah asked cautiously. "Do you know who they are, or why they were left alone in Red Willow?" She shook her head. Not exactly. Some stories say the town emptied too fast. People vanished. Some children were left behind, lost in fear and shadows. Most never survive. But this one, the moon's whisper brought you to them. That means there's hope. Hope. Jeremiah hadn't felt that word in a long time. The desert had a way of teaching men that hope was fragile, easily broken like a dry twig. And yet, here it was, in the warm light of this cabin, in the trusting gaze of a frightened child, and in the eyes of a wild Mustang Foal who had spoken to the night sky as if to guide him here. He glanced outside again. The foal neighed once, twice, as though confirming something unsaid. Jeremiah understood then. This wasn't the end of the journey. It was the beginning. There were answers to be found, stories to uncover, and the child, fragile, scared, and now safe, was counting on him. The wind whispered across the plains, carrying the echoes of the ghost town behind them. Jeremiah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle onto his shoulders. The foal's cry rose again, soft but steady, calling to the moon, calling him forward. And for the first time in many nights, Jeremiah felt that strange, unyielding pull in his chest, the pull of destiny, wild and untamed as the plains themselves. The morning sun climbed higher, burning off the lingering mist of dawn, but the plains still held a chill that bit at Jeremiah Kane's skin. The child had fallen asleep in his lap, exhaustion overtaking fear, while the foal pawed at the pen outside, restless and alert. Jeremiah stood slowly, stretching his stiff muscles, and glanced toward the horizon. Somewhere beyond those endless stretches of sagebrush and cracked earth lay answers, or at least, another chapter in a story the moon had begun. The woman in the cabin stirred from her chair, moving toward the small stove to refill a kettle. "You're not leaving the child alone," she said, voice soft but firm. "But the foal, it's waiting. It knows the way. And you'll need to follow if you intend to finish what it started." Jeremiah nodded. He had grown up with the open plains, the lawless expanse of the West teaching him lessons in caution, patience, and the hard truth that nature had a will of its own. But this was something different. The foal was no ordinary horse. Its eyes had held a knowledge, a sense of purpose. It had led him through a ghost town, across abandoned streets, and now here, toward a destiny he could only glimpse in fragments. "All right, little one," he whispered, glancing down at the sleeping child. "We're going to find out where you belong. But you'll ride with me." He lifted the child gently, securing them against his chest, careful not to jostle them awake. The foal whinnied in anticipation, and Jeremiah swung into the saddle of his horse, motioning for the child to stay close. The woman opened the pen, and the foal trotted toward them, tail flicking, ears forward, eyes alight with urgency. They left the cabin behind, the scent of firewood and bread fading into the wind, replaced by the vast openness of the plains. The foal led them through a maze of hills and gullies, stopping occasionally to whinny at the moon, which still lingered pale in the morning sky. The cry was less mournful now, more insistent, almost commanding. Jeremiah's curiosity burned alongside a protective instinct for the child. Who, or what, had left the child alone in Red Willow? And why had the foal guided him to them? By midday, the trail led them to a narrow canyon, walls jagged and sunbaked, casting long shadows across the path. The foal hesitated at the entrance, sniffing the air, ears twitching. Jeremiah approached cautiously, hand on his revolver. "Easy, girl. We're with you." The foal whinnied softly, then moved ahead, its small hooves echoing against the stone as they descended into the canyon. The child stirred, murmuring something in their sleep. Jeremiah whispered reassurances, adjusting the small bundle in his arms. The canyon walls narrowed, the sun disappearing, leaving them in a cool, shadowed tunnel. The foal stopped at a bend, ears flat, eyes wide, and let out a long, low neigh. Beyond the bend, faint traces of smoke and the smell of wet earth reached them. Jeremiah's pulse quickened. Someone, or something, was here. He crept forward, and there, in a hidden hollow carved by centuries of water and wind, he saw it, a small encampment, rustic but alive. A man and woman moved about, tending to a fire, while children played nearby, laughing softly. The scene was simple, almost timeless, and yet there was a tension in the air, a quiet watchfulness that made Jeremiah's skin prickle. The foal neighed once, low and clear, then nudged the child forward. The child stirred, eyes opening slowly, blinking at the sudden sunlight filtering through the canyon walls. Recognition dawned in their gaze, a mixture of fear and hope. The woman at the camp stepped forward, eyes wide. "You found her," she whispered, voice trembling with relief. Jeremiah dismounted, cradling the child. "She's been alone. The foal brought me. I don't know why. Maybe you can tell me." The woman's eyes softened, tears glistening. "The moon's whisper," she said, almost reverently. "The foal. It guides those who are lost. We've been waiting for her. She was hidden after the raids. The town. It was too dangerous." Jeremiah's brow furrowed. "Raids." The woman nodded. "Bandits took the town years ago. Most people left, some never returned. We saved the children we could, hid them, and hoped someone brave enough, would be guided here to bring them back." The foal stood nearby, ears twitching, tail flicking, eyes scanning the canyon with quiet vigilance. It seemed to relax slightly now that its duty was complete, or at least, this portion of it. The child's small hands reached out, and Jeremiah placed them gently into the woman's waiting arms. The reunion was quiet, powerful in its simplicity. A child returned to safety, a family restored, and the plains themselves seeming to breathe a sigh of relief. Jeremiah stepped back, glancing at the foal. It whinnied softly, long and clear, ears forward. "You've done your work," he murmured. The foal neighed again, then turned, trotting back toward the shadows of the canyon. Jeremiah watched, a lump in his throat. The little creature had guided him across endless plains, through ghost towns, and into hidden sanctuaries. It had been more than a horse. It had been a silent guardian, a messenger of the wild, answering to a call only it could hear. He mounted his horse again, the wind lifting his hat and ruffling his coat. The child was safe, the family whole, and for a moment he allowed himself to feel something he had rarely experienced in his life: peace. Yet he knew the plains still held secrets, still held dangers and mysteries beyond human understanding. The foal had taught him a lesson he would not forget. The wild had its own sense of justice, its own methods of guidance, and sometimes it chose the most unlikely of guides to carry it out. As he rode back toward the open plains, leaving the canyon and the hidden camp behind, the foal appeared once more on a ridge, silhouetted against the sky, mane glinting in sunlight. It neighed one final time, long and mournful, a call to the moon that lingered in the air long after it vanished from sight. Jeremiah tipped his hat, silently thanking it. He knew he would never see the little Mustang again, yet he would carry the memory of that night and the journey it led him on for the rest of his days. The child slept peacefully against his chest, a small weight of warmth and trust, and Jeremiah felt a strange sense of fulfillment settle over him. He had followed the cries of a wild foal, through empty towns and shadowed canyons, and had discovered something more than survival. He had found connection, purpose, and the quiet, powerful truth that even in a land as harsh and unyielding as the West, hope and guidance could appear in the most unexpected forms. The horizon stretched endlessly before him, golden plains rippling in the wind. The ghost town of Red Willow was behind them, silent once more, carrying its secrets into the dust of history. But the foal's voice, the wild, haunting call to the moon, would echo in his mind forever, a reminder of the night he followed the wild Mustang Foal, crossed the plains, and found the lost child in the heart of a silent town. Jeremiah rode on, the child in his arms, the wind carrying the scent of sagebrush and earth, and somewhere in the distance, he could almost hear the faintest whisper of hooves, a wild call, a reminder that some mysteries of the West were never meant to be solved. They were meant to guide, to protect, and to leave those willing to listen with the knowledge that the world, though harsh and empty at times, had a rhythm and a pulse all its own, one that even a cowboy could not ignore, and one that even a lost child could follow. The plains stretched on, endless, untamed, and under the rising sun, Jeremiah Kane felt the weight of the world shift slightly lighter on his shoulders. He had been guided, he had found what was lost, and for now that was enough. The child safe, the wild foal vanished into legend, and the ghost town left behind. But the memory, the sound of that foal's mournful moonlit neigh, would carry with him forever, a reminder that even in the wildest, most desolate places, The call of the heart could lead a man home. And so, they rode.